What's up, everybody? We are live, and it's a real treat for me to have sessions here. It's not often I come across a person and they are literally doing everything I wished I was doing, but like better in terms of the whole VR world and the way you're pushing that forward. I mean, I don't even normally start with this level of like, holy crap, this dude's actually doing the things that I think need to be done and laying down that foundation and stuff. And before we go anywhere with that, I just had to give you your flowers on that because I have come to see how hard it is to convince people this is the hype shit. and
Yeah, for real.
you just putting in work in like ecosystem worlds and showing people how it can be done, and I think that's really commendable. And apparently you made a freestyle record that Guinness or whatever was watching for lately, which is also kind of fire. So that's a lot of big wins to start this year off.
Yeah, for real. And I mean, that's sort of something that's been in the works. And it was like, I didn't even know it was in the works since doing Twitch, like all that broadcasting technology and researching and how to do APIs with Nightbot and all this other stuff. That's just correlated perfectly into this VR thing. So it's like, it gave me a little bit of a head start,
Dope. We're gonna absolutely get into all that. I do have a bit of a standard start to this that we like to go through, and it really does require you letting us know where you start your life, the very beginning, early days of sessions.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, it's, born in Honduras. I ended up coming at like 2, so real young to America. And my dad was looking towards, industrial work. So we went to the Midwest, like Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then from there, went to Indiana from like 4th grade to.
All right. Trust, we're going to go
sophomore.
through all that. But that's it. So we know you in the Midwest in the States from our proper opening questions. All right. So this is a bit of a story. And when it lands, you can take it away however you want. And it all starts off with my girlfriend. And she's washing the dishes one time, and she's got her phone out, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song. I got a feeling. Ooh.
Yeah.
She's vibing. She's dancing. She's doing her thing. And I look at her, and I start wondering, when in the fuck did this song become chores music? Right? Because if you think about this track and you run it back like 10 years, it's like the middle of the night celebration song. Everybody's out. Everybody's having a wonderful time. And then, a good decade goes by. The song doesn't really change at all because it's a song. But we change so much as people that the context that we put this song into our lives is now like we're doing chores or we're working out or we're doing some shit like that, and we're trying to go back to the happy days, which got me thinking a lot about the musical journeys that artists go on. And how when you watch a lot of these interviews and stuff, you see how everybody kind of starts in this adolescent era. Everybody rushes to like, I'm like 12 years old and I discovered hip hop over here, or I started writing rhymes when I was like 8 or 9 or something. And like, it's just kind of maybe where we start to form our identities and where a lot of it starts to happen. But really, if we think about music, it goes all the way back to the beginning of time. Like probably in Honduras when you popped out in the hospital or whatnot, there were songs playing in that room that a Little Baby Sessions was actually absorbing and getting a little influence from since time. And for me, it's like, I know when I'm like 5 years old up in Montreal, we were in the apartment. My dad was obsessed with the music. He had the gray boxes, the preamp, the amp, the radio, the tape deck, all these wires going out, the speakers.
He had to turn on 7 machines just to get the speakers going.
Absolutely. And then it would sound fly, though. Home surround sound. For real. And it would be like he plays Led Zeppelin tapes and things like that in the daytime, and at night though it was like the techno music live from the clubs in Montreal. And then my mom's though, it was more like discos and musicals and love songs. There was a lot of Disney's, things like that, and all these kind of sounds and vibes and influences totally shaped me as an adult way later on, whether I liked it or not, because while I didn't necessarily want to listen to all of it, there was no choice. It was what I had to listen to at that time. So with that, Mr. Sessions, I hope you can bring us back to the youngest Sessions that you can remember being and walk us a little bit what it sounded like to be you before you could control what you listened to.
And then one thing about that, man, music is actually the only sense that you can't stop. You know what I mean? You can prevent yourself from tasting stuff. You can cover your eyes. You can not touch something, and all them sensations, the only one that you can't block is music because it reverberates through you. So I definitely agree on that, and whether it's, bio changing or, anything mentality wise, like it's changing you physically on things you do to what you might think about. So back in those days, like it's real funny because if I was to put on some 90s music or something from the 80s, it's just real nostalgic, great feeling of back then era. So, I mean, a lot of music was, what I might have heard on the radio, which resonates with me from, sort of the 80s and 90s feel. And every time somebody mentions something, like I just love sampling and love listening to like 80s, but it's probably because I grew up and subconsciously absorbed it from that era.
So were your parents like big into music?
Not necessarily. My dad actually played guitar and sort of messed around with it, and I think that's where I got my music influence from. But my mom didn't. She more so like drew a lot, so that's where I got the artistic ability from. But
so when you're
my
like
dad,
so your mom is a drawer and you're a young artist and a young musicer?
yeah, like I can draw, I can paint, and I'm recently starting to get into Blender, so I can start basically doing 3D of all those skills. You know what I mean? Like the culmination of all these skills have just led up to this moment, so it's real nuts.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really much of like a bunch of Spanish music in the history of growing up and all that because of just the situation of my parents working a lot and whatnot. But I mean, I'd say that a lot of it was Americanized music and listening to 80s and the Madonnas and the Hall and Oates and things like that just sort of that's probably the furthest recollection of music that I can think back to.
How did you get exposed to it?
I think it was just radio mainly and videos. Like watching videos was a thing where, MTV was just on or anything that we could find was on. So it's like we were sort of, at home and just, like a lot of kids, they grow up with TV as the parent type thing. And, we just watched a bunch of stuff exposed to a bunch of music videos. And I remember like from Macarena to, there's even like some random video of this Jamaican dude that I can't find anywhere. I've searched for it just because of the nostalgia of listening to it back then and not being able to like remember what it was. But there's just, everything from rock to, mainly pop culture is what I'd say the majority of my youth was. But, it was like I had a friend in 4th grade that used to be into Metallica, Nirvana, Alice in Chains. So I went through that whole era back in 4th grade and just even more so not even like wanting to, I guess, but it was like because I just was so young, I didn't know any better, and he was my best friend, so I was like, all right, he likes it, so I like it. But they gave me the experience of like, watching Dazed and Confused and just going through this whole like his dad had a basement with the rock band practice down there and all types of shit. Like we used to get on AOL around that time, and it was like a good era for learning a lot of rock music.
Yeah, it's facts. It was also dominating, I think, in the pop markets at that point.
Yeah. And it's sort of like, but that was like, so hip hop was somewhat prevalent for my oldest brother, but it wasn't until later where I started listening to Biggie and Tupac and all that. But so you got me thinking like now, like what was it that was really more influential around that time? And all I could really say is what I seen in movies and pop culture and radio.
And were you?
Because I wasn't like digging or I didn't have parents that listened to 70s or soul or anything,
And it's interesting because nobody answers this question the same except for the Michael Jackson kids. The Michael Jackson kids, it's the exact same answer. Everyone else is super different. And it's really...
And that's where I'm from, actually, Elkhart, which is right next to Gary, where Michael's from.
I'll say word. That's actually pretty cool. I do not know a lot about the Midwest. My U.S. geography is pretty bad, I'll be real.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's up at the north side of Indiana, close to Michigan, and then it's like... It's right next to Gary, South Bend, so it really wasn't that bad of a town, and it wasn't even a city. It was like a town.
Right.
But Gary was pretty bad, and, South Bend was pretty gangster. I mean, from what I knew, but...
Right. And so when you were young, did you want to sing or draw? Like you said your dad was playing guitar. And...
Nah, not really. I mean, I didn't get into it till like 17.
Okay. So what were you?
Yeah, so...
So hold on, just thanks for the raid, Zamanel. And what were you up to when you were young then? Like, did you have any passions?
I did, but it wasn't really like, it was just drawing. And it was like, I was really good in art class and drawing in general. So I used to do that a lot, but it wasn't as much as my brother might have. And I didn't really, it was more so drifting a lot than it was any kind of passions or habits or hobbies that I did, or I didn't sit in my room and draw all the time. I just mainly was socializing, real hyper, just not really staying put and just doing a lot of different activities outside and just sort of running amok on the streets type of thing.
Fair, but it was also a time where that's what you did. right? Like,
Yeah,
it was kind of
that's what made the experiences or shape my personality.
like I'm born in '87, so like I definitely have a lot of memories of the '90s where you would just like go to the park and meet
The
random
mall.
people and like wherever it was, and then you would just meet the same people because you would all like whoever was in the hood would go to the same place, and that was
Yeah.
Facebook back then.
For real. And I mean, it's crazy because the next generations are really not going to get that unless things were somewhat like, I don't know, the internet is, and the world of being on web is pretty much going to be how all these kids grow up, and going outside is going to be so rare as far as having those experiences and being roughed up or, scraping your knees from skateboarding and all that shit is just like, I'm picturing that as not being so prevalent.
I totally picture it, but add the for the gram or the talk after it, because like I wildly be in the park right now. Like we started this thing last summer, and you see kids in the park because they need to be in the park for TikTok. Like, it's kind of weird,
I know, right?
But being an influencer of the desire to create this content may force a lot of people back outside and socializing in the most weirdly circular way of it.
And I mean, the thing that sucks is they're not just, compassion and empathy are created from sort of being bored and daydreaming. So it's like, if you're not really doing that in the sense of, going out there because you have nothing else to do and start making up games and start making up, wilding out and being riled up off of the energy of a kid, then you're going to be focused on doing this TikTok video. So in a sense, it takes away from that sort of boredom of, just not having anything to do. And then again, like, it's better than being, on the streets and in a cityscape, because again, I grew up in a town, so it's so boring that all we had to do was try to find shit to do, And then obviously that could lead you into some bad shit like doing drugs and fucking sitting around smoking weed and shit. But
yeah, that's fair. I mean, I grew up in a city, so it was a little different. I was in cadets for most of high school, so it was a lot of activities and just nonstop. Like my weeks was full, but it was all in real life. And I don't know.
But I mean, were they extracurricular or were they just like activities? They were part of school, right?
No, it was so cadets is like this like thing that's like the army for teenagers.
Oh yeah, okay.
And like you would just like
ROTC. That's what they have in America, I think.
Yeah, but it's not like it's like ran by the military, but it's completely a civilian thing, and like you just learn to march.
Just sort of like training you up to and getting you familiar with all that.
But at
least it kept you busy.
Yeah, a lot of busy. And so, like, for me, I was never bored like it is, but I've heard the small town version is you get wildly bored, and it's a super different experience than what I grew up with. But I think both our experiences had a lot of legitimate, like, value that trains character that I can understand the fear with the internet. But then they're getting, like, hella cool marketing skills and weirdly are less celebrity driven and more collective driven these days, which I know doesn't seem to be the case, but there's a lot more community happening in what they're doing than what we did. So pros and cons.
I won't say it in a dystopian or a con sense. All I'm saying is just it won't be the same, like we grew up in an era where it was obviously not as much technology, but of course it's going to just develop to what it does.
And all you have to do is like
stop it.
If you ever read Hunter S. Thompson shit, you can see what it fucking used to be, and it's almost like, damn, we missed out on some wild shit that was super fun because cameras.
For real.
And now we have the camera era. So fair enough. So when did you, I guess, discover hip hop?
So it was actually there was a real vivid memory of discovering it from my boy Jay Speaks when I first got down here to Florida. So again, I was Midwest, Wisconsin, Indiana, from fourth grade to junior, sophomore year. And then from there came down to Florida at like 15, 16. And then when I started high school, it was like closer to January instead of August when we first got down. So when I got there, I was just sort of, idling. And one way I would start making friends is be like, yo, you smoke weed? And then, and then one day they'd be like, and it might not have been the best people to befriend, but they were my type of people that weren't like, yuppie normal type, I don't know. That's just how I was. And I was always chilling with those type of people that love hip hop and whatnot. So, at 17, I seen this I seen this one dude who I met through one of my science classes, and he introduced me to the clique, and we used to start chilling and whatnot. And then one day, after a few times we chilled, I went up to this one dude who turned into my best friend, Jay Speaks, and I was like, "What are you listening to on his CD player?" And back when there's Walkmans and shit, and he ended up telling me it was himself, and I was like, "Oh, word, let me hear it." So he just showed it to me, and it was Jay Speaks, The Lethal Injection. And so after that, it was when I started writing, and first off making beats on Fruity Loops, and then I started writing after I got good at, I was naturally good at making beats. But like the first influence of hip hop was around 12, 13 though. When I think back, it was like Biggie, Tupac, and all these different CDs that were coming out. But yeah, writing and creating music was at 17 with, Fruity Loops.
So you met the dude. He's like, I'm listening to myself. That hits you hard enough that you're like, fuck that, I'm gonna make beats. And then you just start making beats.
It was more so I was like, what the fuck, listening to yourself. And it was dope because I've heard other hip hop, and he was on sort of like that Nas lyrical type shit at the time. And when I used to go chill at his house is when I started seeing he was making his own beats on a computer with the closet slide door, and he'd just go in the booth right there. And it was just like, oh shit, this is pretty dope. And it wasn't something that like, it was more so out of curiosity of him doing it all himself that it's like, maybe I can figure it out and do it. So I ended up getting this like really wonky computer, nothing big, but it did what it needed to. And I sat there and make beats, and my mom used to just take it because I had speakers, and it was just like figuring it out, making these like clink clank type beats and shit. But it ended up, it ended up being something natural where I had a rhythm. I had a natural curiosity to sample weird shit. Like I had a CD. I'd go to the library or wherever it was and just buy some weird ass CDs, and I'd sample like Disney's greatest hits. And then I turned something from Beauty and the Beast into like some just looping crazy parts and just making shit up that I didn't even know what I was doing. But it ended up being something cool because I just sort of naturally had a knack for it.
Actually, that's pretty fucking wild. I never thought about the idea of hitting up the library before, but the libraries actually have crazy fucking rent a CD catalogs even to this day. Bro. To this day, they still do.
The library is, one of the, it's the only place that has the most stories. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Whether it's levels literally or books and stories, but it's basically just a free powerhouse of knowledge. And if people really went to it the same way as the internet and really sat there and studied it, it would hit you differently, obviously.
Yo, facts. I mean, I don't really think of it a lot, but as a young person, my mom was like super into the library. Like she even used to volunteer at the kids' library type thing. So like it was just a huge part of my like adolescence. In fact, the only way I had access to the internet before we got it at home was to book an hour at the library. And then you could sit there and like go on Habbo Hotel or Coke Studios or whatever, because I was on that shit as a teenager. And I was like,
AOL chat is what I used to hit up a lot.
And like but the books, and there was a lot of culture too. Like they used to have courses and shit at the libraries where I'm at. Like it's like a wild. Or I did karate at a library one time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's awesome, man. It's like the library is like, that was similar to also going to like grocery stores and reading the magazine aisles and sitting there fucking studying the Source, Double XL, the Source, and all these different ones that I just sit there and read.
That's dope, stills. And so like you're like 17. What year are you 17? Like what's is that, like the early 2000s, or is that still the 90s?
That was like 2002 or 3, because I was born in 85. So,
right. Okay, so it's like a couple years apart.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I started high school in 2000, and then I finished in 05. So I'm at 87, but it's also Canada, so it's a little different. Whatever. So early 2000s.
I'm 03, so.
And so you're in that point. I guess Fruity Loops and all this, the home studio stuff is a little more accessible at this point too. Not like fully accessible.
Or not necessarily, but it was like I at least had, the first it was the computer, and then I started getting like, honestly, I used to record myself with the first one was actually MTV Music Generator, number 2 on PlayStation.
Oh, say word. No, but I swear I was just talking to somebody in the UK who is telling me about, a few people have, like we call them PlayStation rappers, because it's it's dope that like
it's what you had, and it's the only like the quickest accessibility to making beats. And it gave you the loops, and you would just arrange them. And I think you could chop them. I didn't really get into it all that much, but I mean, even my boy JK1 that supplied the beats for the world record, he was telling me that was one of the first influences too back then. But it was MTV Music Generator, and then I would take a cassette player, you know, the one that were like sort of long, and you'd hit the play, stop here, put in the tape, and it had the speaker on top of it type of cassette player. And it was, you know, what I used to use to listen to the beat next to the TV and record myself rapping. And then shit like that is what I was doing at the time, amazing. Just because I didn't really have any equipment, you know, and obviously there was equipment available, but I just didn't have a job or money to buy the shit. So I was just doing what I could. And limitlessness, or, you know, being limited creates and harvest, you know, what's that saying? Like being limited just makes more creativity.
Right.
So,
I hear that a lot. Like I've heard stories of the old days and even having to describe it, but it also, the thing that, like, to me it shows is you really want it if you're willing to do it regardless of the circumstances. Whereas if you're kind of bougie about it, it makes me question a little bit how badly you really want it, because the toolbox paradigm is a real thing where you like kind of wait for the perfect equipment to start a journey rather than just start and figure it out as you go. Like I lost a lot of money buying gear I didn't need before I started my journey.
Exactly. And that's another thing. You'll buy something you don't know you don't need, and then it's like, you know, obviously you figure it out. But back to like the story, at 17, I was making the beats, and then me and my boy Jay Speaks were sort of creating music together. And then I had found a job at Nature's Food Patch, which is like an organic restaurant that introduced me to a whole world of food and what they put in it and shit. But one of my boys that I worked with introduced me to another rapper, Life Lakai, and we ended up chilling, and I brought Speaks over there. We all met, and we created a music video called Riding Avenues. And you can find it on YouTube, Riding Avenues Feature Inc. And that ended up catapulting us into a group. And we called it Feature Inc. because my boy just jokingly said, yo, I got the name. What if we, when you see it on the marquee outside of the club that we're performing at, it'll say featuring Feature Inc. And it was just him sort of rapping and coming up with that. So we went with it because it was like we were featuring each other's inks while being independent artists in one group type thing. So we came up with, you know,
how did you guys make this video? They were talking like early 2000s, y'all made a music video. Like that's not a small feat. Like that's pretty impressive.
I actually signed up for a video program for free for the city of Clearwater, which they would let you go into this classroom. They would teach you, and then you were able to rent the equipment after you completed the course. So I had a big DV camera. And it was like one of those ones where you would rent it every, like, you know, you'd get it once every month or whatever. And it took me like a year of renting it just to finish getting all the footage in order to chop it up and then make the video. So it was crazy, but I ended up getting it done. And then, you know, I used to, and it let you fill in a slot in the schedule of any time you wanted. And the only one that was like available at the time was like 3 to 5 in the morning. So I just put that video on repeat. And I remember people telling me stories of them coming home from the club and seeing the video on at 3 a.m. and shit. And they're like, yo, that was you guys? And it was just crazy how it sort of spread around the area because of that. And, you know, it was doing a bunch of shows. You know, we did open up we found a guy that let us sell tickets, and we started opening up for, you know, Slaughterhouse, Uncle Cracker, Head PE, you know, Cut Calhoun from Tech Nine's Click, and all these people that come into town. If we sold the tickets, we'd open up, you know what I mean? And be able to, like, we were opening up, but if we sold tickets, that's how we made money. Right. And ultimately those type of shows are building up the momentum and just always killing it with our shows. Our live shows was our best feature. And that ended up getting us a good name in the area.
So you went from leveraging local community resources, which arguably 95% of us have not even one time Googled what local resources are available to us. Let's be fucking real. So you leverage that to, like,
I was even thinking just now, I was like, local resources. Man, my dog knows what he's talking about.
And I'm like, so you sit there and you do that, you which gives you a music video, and then you played that on TV. I didn't how did that work out? Like there was like a public,
because I did the course. It was a public video program. You could just go, like, you know, it's teaching kids how to use medias and this and that.
And then after,
so they would let you assign a slot of when you would play the video that you got done editing, and you could make a show, you could make this, but all I had was a music video, so I just put it on repeat for the 2-hour slot or whatever.
So that's like, because I just watched Wayne's World, So that's like what Wayne's World did with their public access TV in a sense. And you did that.
Yeah.
So it's 2 hours of your one music video looping over and over again.
Well, there's actually also another video that we actually fucked around and wore some do-rags on our face and made like this stupid ninja video type fighting dumbass shit where we were just high doing some dumb shit. But it was that plus the music video. But yeah, that was on repeat for a long time. And for at least like, I forget what it was, maybe a few months. And then it would play on the slot that I assigned it. And I just stopped going back to doing it. But that was my first experience with doing videos because I was always the guy, you know, the engineer, the beat maker, the videographer. You know, I didn't really have camera experience, but now I know all that. And it's like I've always been this well-rounded creative type dude, even with music being my number one, but because I had the drawing skill before that, you know.
Yo, all of that's really impressive and interesting. I mean, you basically
Appreciate
like I've never heard anybody pull a move like that to then unlock the next chapter where you leveraged fucking public television. And I mean, like that's a wild thought. Okay, like that's cool.
And it was almost like it was something that I just was doing because I loved it and I knew it was. I just went. A lot of my life has been sort of like, you know, letting the randomness of going into the unknown lead me to what I'm supposed to go to type thing, you know. And that's sort of what that happened to be. Was I was like coming back from the beach or something, and I seen public, you know, access TV or whatever, and I went in there and I'm like, what is this place? And so the things like that is how it happens to be, where I wasn't like planning to leverage it. It happened to be that, and it turns out in retrospect to look like that. So it's like, it is dope how things work out, but it's always been the natural curiosity of just, you know, wanting to figure shit out that's led me to a lot of things.
Which is honestly super valuable knowledge nugget mentality. If you think about, they say yes as opposed to say no, like find yes people, and that's just taking like a say yes approach to life, because a lot of people might have looked at that and said, who the fuck gonna watch it at 3 to 5 in the morning, you know, backed out kind of thing. And usually that's how the story goes. But it's incredible that you took that route and then it resulted into opening for a whole bunch of people probably earlier than you would have got that opportunity.
Yep. And I mean, it was like I said, some of the rappers that I'd meet later on would be like, hold on, are you Feature Inc? The ones that used to play, man, I used to see y'all's video coming home from the club at 3 a.m. from Ebor. And, you know, it's like a lot of people were actually inspired by that I never knew was reaching out to them. You know what I mean? Like from St. Pete to Palm Harbor to wherever around Clearwater area, is like that gave us our little light to be noticed. And then we started doing our own shows first off. And like I said, then it turned into people seeing our dope show and our energy live, and then they started being like, yo, you can open up for these people if you sell tickets and blah blah blah. So now to continue on after that, after, you know, the group was sort of, you know, pretty good and we kept building up momentum, but then it would die off from us slacking a few months, build it up again and die off. So a lot of us were like chiefs that didn't want to listen, and you know, I was also trying to get everybody gathered up, but it was sort of like, you know, everybody was just doing their thing. So eventually I ended up saying, yo, you guys want to do this show? And they're like, no. So I ended up going by myself, and I have this song called Trainwreck. It's on my SoundCloud. And that one song is the only one I did that day, but I did it right before a bunch of rock bands went on. And the band right after me was a 3-piece that didn't have a singer. So ended up watching their show right after me. And then I'm like, yo, man, I would love to, like, I didn't say this to them, but in my mind watching them, I was like, they don't even have a singer, man. That'd be dope if I sang for them, because I loved rock too. And so right after the show, when they were done, they ended up coming up to me and saying, yo, we love that Trainwreck song. You want to consider rehearsing with us? And I was like, bro, I was thinking the same thing, bro. I want to be y'all singer. Let's do this. So we started it, and it was 2012. It was like a heavy rock band with like screaming, singing, rapping, but it wasn't like you know, suicide, or it wasn't like these fucking like all screaming type songs, but it was some heavy shit. And we were together for like 5 years.
That's dope.
It's pretty dope. Yeah. So that gave me a whole nother experience, from doing hip hop shows to doing live rock shows and like screaming at the top of your lungs to release all the weak stress type shit.
And so you just kind of pivoted into a whole different genre and ran that situation.
Yeah. And it was like, my boys knew that was who I was, but it was like, it was also the fact that everybody was just not really concentrating. I was sort of tired of trying to gather everybody up. So I'm like, then fuck y'all, I'm gonna do my thing, and then I'm gonna find myself. And at the time it wasn't, you know, like, it was just more so fuck y'all because and in a friend type of way, not like a really let's break up thing. It was just, and then that ended up turning into Speaks and Hagen Lee doing their thing. It's called the White Album. And they ended up getting pretty big off of that, doing a bunch of shows and going to hip hop in St. Pete and creating a scene down there. And I was in the rock like space with a bunch of shows that I was doing with other rockers and shit, and going to the other side of town where all the rockers rock at like Newport Richie and other places. So it was like, deep down, I wanted to be with the hip hop side of things, but this was also just where I was finding some other aspect of what I love too. So it didn't bother me too much, but it was like, damn, it was torn between both worlds of hip hop and rock.
Yeah, I can appreciate that a lot. What's okay? Since you've done like both, what would you say like the main difference between rock and hip hop crowds are?
With rock crowds, they're more into the music, and they're not embarrassed to sort of showcase it and express that side. You know what I mean? And it's not embarrassment on the hip hop side, but it's more so the pretentious, pompous attitude of acting like they're better than other people, where they don't have to move and dance because they're too cool for that type shit.
So you're saying like rock people just have a more fun show because they can get over themselves a bit more, and rappers be like wildly stiff and it's not that fun. Yeah,
exactly. And they're just acting like, you know, oh, well, you know, I'm here to do a show, so I'm not going to stand in the crowd and show support because, you know, this is, you know, I'm the artist in this bitch, you know, type thing is what I've always felt it to be. Now, there's a bunch of people that I clicked with and we all showed love to each other, but a lot of people would just come do their show. And then
absolutely an indie scene everywhere problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking about Montreal as much as you're talking about New York, as much as you're talking about everywhere.
Yep. And so, I mean, in general, that's where I was, you know, categorizing it with hip hop and rock. And I'm sure that the scene is the same everywhere. But in my experiences, the rock was more fun because people were apt to open up, you know, and just be cool and not really have any type of ego in that sense that, you know, there were some rock bands that were like that, but still it was a lot more fun, mosh pitting, you know, everybody just wilding out, showing a little fun, and no real fights and jealousy and type fake gangster shit, you know.
That's fair. That's an interesting distinction. I haven't been to enough local rock shows to know the difference between the crowds. Cause
go to them, bro. It's like you'll be welcomed in, and no matter what you look like, it's sort of like, you know, it's just,
I had
some dope people.
I had a little run where I ended up doing one track with a rock band, and it was fire. It's one of my favorite songs. And so they just got me to come perform it with them. So it was like 5 or 6 shows I did where I would just like go do the track with them. And I did notice the vibe was fun, but it was hard for me to compare because it's probably the same people in the crowd at both shows, to be honest. Hip hop and like it's a really like the local scene is kind of condensed like that, where the fans of the music are the fans of the music. It's not so genre specific. It's the artists that are genre specific.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, you were doing the rock band thing, and you found it more inclusive than the hip hop side of things, where people might have egos and shit. When it came down to making music, were y'all like recording tracks and stuff in the rock band? Like, was it in that route? Because I know like a lot of bands can just be in a situation where they perform and they get entire careers where they don't necessarily need to go down a studio route. So like, were y'all like, I guess, making projects and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, we ended up doing a show, and well, we ended up doing a few shows. I'm gonna send you a link right now in the chat that's gonna be towards the rock band that, you know, up to you if you wanted to play it.
Yeah,
but
we can totally play that.
So this is hold on, put it in the chat. So this is this is a show at Blur. This show we ended up doing made like $1,200 or something, because we had the sponsor money by asking a few companies to sponsor it, and then we'd put them on the flyer, put a banner up. We had like a tattoo truck in the back, had some food people there, had a couple of shops. The restaurant me and my guitarist worked at sponsored us and all this shit. So it's like we ended up making the money to create the album, which is a 5-song EP that I'm also going to share with you. And that album was done at Red Room Records in Tampa. So that ended up being like a really good, you know, album that showcases all of our skill. But besides that, it didn't work out because the drummer ended up quitting. But in general, yeah, that album is, one of my, I feel good about that album, but it's nothing that anybody knows about,
Right.
And by the way,
Now the audio on there is going to be really messed up too as well.
It's a 2010 YouTube video. I'm grateful it exists.
I know, right?
Pictures and beer and liquor and
That's TJ. Dizzy is on the bass, and Kramer on the drums.
How y'all liking it so far? Let me hear it.
Who's their first time tonight at Rockin' Dunedin?
Rockin' Dunedin too.
Where are all my people at that were here the last time?
Ooh, that's a lot of people that were here the last time. Respect.
For real, it was pretty dope, man.
How many people like
I'm gonna actually go live as well, like I said.
Fair.
This one's face to face. Lights down, please.
Eyes to the front.
Yeah, you see who it is?
No, I won't be able to go live because then you'll see. I'd have to change my screen and all that.
Fair. Oh, this is cool. Oh, look at you go, eh? Yeah, that is definitely a whole different vibe.
Yeah. Back when I had hair down to here. Oh snap, that's why you weren't showing up. Because when you asked me to do this show, I forgot to hit the follow.
That's fair. My logistics game is not that on point in terms of all that normal stuff people do to try hard to keep that shit on lock. But thanks for the follow sessions.
I get pissed off instantly.
Yeah, it's wildly different than the hip hop shit, but I like this a lot. I fuss with it heavy. Alright, I'm gonna check that other link.
Yeah, so that was the live version, which shows how, the shows were for me as far as, just being able to sort of just let everything out. Chocolate.
The whole vibe. This is really cool.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Ismail. Yeah, Ismail is the great connector.
Yeah, man, he's always around everywhere.
Bro, this is like bringing me to my new metal days.
Yeah, for real. That's the biggest influence for me is new metal.
Man, Linkin Park, when I'm like 12 and shit, is the greatest thing I ever heard.
Exactly. My biggest blows, As I float into the dark abyss, my body becomes lifeless. I wish I could slow down just to tell you why I'm like this.
That must be like, yo, I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna go back to interview a bit. That was fucking.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, that was just to give you a taste as to like what the rock style was like, you know. So it allowed me to, one thing that it was the whole time when I was with the rock band, I gotta say that I wasn't as comfortable as when I'm doing hip hop. But that's also what's led me to be, you know, doing what you're uncomfortable with is gonna build your character, you know.
Do you know what made you uncomfortable with that? Like in terms of like what it was?
Yeah, it was just like not knowing how to, I guess, execute and write, because I always just wanted to rap. Now, there's nothing wrong with rap, but me as an artist wanted to figure out what I could do to find my identity with rock. So I didn't want to just rap on every song. So I was trying to sing, and I was trying to like know, you know, when you hear rockers, like any band in general, they sort of grew up with just rock, so they know how to land when they're doing the vocals and when to leave space, when to do this and that, in a sense. Not to say that they know when, because you just sort of create it and it happens, but I just was thinking about it too much because of how I'm used to writing and trying to fill in as many words as I can. So it was sort of a challenge, to the point where I ended up you know, just having my bassist would just write sort of free writing, crazy, you know, very emotional, intricate type thoughts, and I just read those to the music they were playing. So it helped me without having to sort of write, and then I sort of created songs by adding a melody to free writing. So it really actually sort of helped my writing style in a sense, and figuring out how to apply lyrics without sitting there getting stuck with creator's block type thing.
Yeah, so you're basically with the band, it's a little bit stiffer. You end up learning to work with other people's writing, which is super interesting because not a lot of rappers would do that. So that's a whole other vibe. And I guess at what point do you kind of migrate away from? Also, do you do any kind of touring? Are you going anywhere like interesting with it, or is it all like local or stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the only tour I ever did was with, you know who Kosher Dills is?
Actually, I do know who Kosher Dills is.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do know him.
I ended up where he somehow got in contact with my boys through somebody else, and we ended up doing a tour with him from Miami, then Tampa, then Orlando. So it wasn't like a tour, but it was at least traveling, and you know, that was the most touring we did, but everything was local with the hip hop band featuring and with Universal. It was 2012, and then since we started around 2009, we knew 2012 was coming up, and it might have did something as far as, you know, we should have stuck with the name because I liked it, but we changed it to Universal. And, you know, after that whole rock phase,
so you did the tour with Kosher Dills with the rock band?
Oh, no, my bad. All right. So with the Feature Inc., I did a tour, and that was the only experience I had. But no, we stayed local with the rock band pretty much.
Right.
We might have done like a show in Newport Rich or somewhere further than we normally do, but it's all local, no out of state or anything.
And just so y'all know, Kosher Dills is a wildly interesting artist. I know that he's unapologetically Jewish, and he is all over New York City. If you follow him on Instagram, like he just like, he'll be like, they paid me to do a bagel sponsorship, so watch me rack about fucking bagels to people. And like, I swear that happened earlier, like last year. And so like, he's a really interesting character, and that's pretty cool.
I actually, you know, it was like one of them things where we were very wild and rambunctious to where we didn't really click the whole drive there, and we had to drive with him. So it was like, you know, we were just wilding out and drinking, you know, like I would be drinking in the back, and then, you know, it'd be like, yo, can you not drink with an open bottle? You know, it was just like that type of thing where he was just very, you know, not as wild as we were. So it ended up being a little bit of bumping heads, but it was still a cool experience in general though.
Right.
And so back to like with the rock band, it ended up breaking up because of the drummer, and he was very neurotic. And I had my first daughter at that time, where it ended up making him sort of think that I wasn't going to be rocking enough, weren't going to be able to do enough. So we ended up breaking up, and around that time I was just doing sort of the family thing and trying to find myself, but it ended up leading me down to like an escapism route of doing drugs and stuff, and nothing too hard, nothing too crazy, but just spending too much and just, you know, not being responsible because of, you know, thinking that the life that I was about to go towards was going to take me away from my passion and shit.
It's
So there's a
also
lot of like turmoil.
interesting that you say maybe it's not the hardest stuff, but you can still go too much and go too hard with not the hardest stuff, which is a good point that a lot of people might overlook.
Like what I mean is that when I did the drugs, and it's not to justify it, it's just from, I guess, more so myself. I know that I didn't lose control to where I was selling my mom's TV and, you know, going out and trying to steal and, you know, thieve and shit, but I was just not doing what I was supposed to. So, and then it ended up causing a lot of trouble and whatnot for a good like 5 years. And if you're familiar with the whole pandemic with pills and shit, that's sort of what it was. So it's like just, you know, something that would make me want to, I would do it to work more, but then I needed to work more to get the money to, you know, so it became this vicious cycle type thing. And, you know, went through a whole thing with that turmoil and whatnot, where, you know, I kept trying to battle that as well as balance life and being a father, and then also trying to be in the rock band. And it was good for a while, but then it just stopped. And so a couple of years go by and I didn't have any studio equipment or anything to express. And I started watching dub effects on YouTube.
Okay.
And it ended up inspiring me to want to.
Effects? I'm not sure I know what that is.
He's like a looper, effects. You know, he does effects with like a bass pedal and guitar pedal and stuff.
Okay.
And he ended up like doing a video where mainly all of his videos were busking in Europe, just traveling around busking like a gypsy type thing. And so that ended up inspiring me to want to buy that same looper, the RC505, which I have right here. And I've had it since 2015. I bought that looper and I just set up on the streets in Dunedin with a table, a mic, speaker, and my looper, and freestyled, you know, on the streets. And that's what I wanted to do. Like, it was genuinely in my gut. I wanted to go freestyle to change people's mentality. I just had a vision of being on the streets and then doing that in St. Pete in the middle of like a First Ave or something, and people walking by going to work in a business suit, and then hopefully I would change their opinion for that day of being in a better mood, or just, you know, wanted to shake people up type thing. So that was the start of Sidetracked.
So you're saying that, like, quite literally, you got hit by this vision to hit the streets in a literal capacity with a loop machine before everybody's a loop machine person, and bring joy to people on their mundane lives and shit, on some true, like, altruistic mission shit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, because I was so focused before having my kid, I was so focused on trying to make it, be famous, monetary value, and all that stuff, to where it almost was like something that shook me out of that place and took me in a better direction, is how I look at it now, instead of the regret of how I used to escape that idea. And so that's sort of what led me to this whole path, because doing that Sidetracked, I realized I was very sporadic, very attention deficit, to where Sidetracked sort of explains that it's like a double entendre. And Sidetracked is me being sidetracked with not focusing and drifting, and also sidetracking pedestrians into a better mood, you know, for that moment in time.
And then so Sidetracked is the project where you on the street with a loop machine freestyling, and it's effectively busking.
It was this right here, that logo, the white one.
I don't know if
that's it's a picture of like me standing in the streets, you know what I mean? Basically, sidewalk, Sidetracked.
Yeah, that's fire stills. And you would do that all day, or like?
No, I mean, my idea was to try to just show up in random spots around the city and try to make an app that was going to allow you to find where I was. And my idea was like, catch me if you can. And, you know, if I post up on this street, I'll be here for an hour, and there would be like a notification like, oh shit, Cess is down the block, let's go get him. Or, you know, and hopefully start a block party. And then if not, then I'd pack up and go somewhere else, and you try to meet me there for anybody who's close to that area.
So you wanted to make an app. How did that go?
No, I mean, it obviously was like way too much for me to do it, but I mean, I could now possibly, you know, just have a developer make it, and I might actually continue that idea, because honestly, I would love to still do it, but then, you know, to continue the story, unless you had any questions about it.
I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I mean, I think it's a fire idea, and actually pretty brilliant marketing and whatnot. So no, I don't really have more questions though. It's just cool.
And I mean, so Sidetracked started from just buying that looper and practicing it. I didn't really delve into this thing for a whole nother year or so, but still, I had that. And then, you know, doing a few shows was really dope. But then the idea of having to pack up all my equipment and go out to the streets was like a little cumbersome. And I had a girlfriend at the time who her brother just went to TwitchCon because they were streamers. And I was like, oh shit, TwitchCon, that shit must be getting big. Twitch, you know, I heard about it, but I didn't really pay any attention at all. And so around 2019 in September, I told myself I'm going to force myself to learn streaming. So I did a Sidetracked 70X, which was 70 streams in 70 days from September 23rd to December 1st. And then on December 1st, 2019, I started Twitch.
Okay. So you did the streams before that, or that was the start of the 70
I did
days?
70 shitty type of practice, making all my mistake streams on Facebook.
Okay,
and you can find that. You can find that on Facebook or YouTube, and it's Sidetracked 70X. But it's a lot of BS, a lot of mistakes, a lot of just like, what the hell is this doing, you know?
No, but that's super interesting still, because that was before like Facebook would have fucked up your whole life for streaming like that. But also the fact that you went to like a lesser platform in a sense to practice before moving into the big boys is so interesting. I never would have thought to do that, actually. I just was like,
and it forced me to, one, the work ethic, two, you know, streaming whether I felt like it or not, and sometimes I didn't. And then three, it just allowed me to make all my mistakes and learn and research what other equipment I needed, what type of connection I needed, what I needed for, you know, like I said, Nightbot or this and that. Like I was working on my Twitch stream for a good 2 years at my telemarketing job on the computer for my work. So I was working while I was working, adjusting my panels, adjusting my graphics, changing the information, messing around with this, adding Nightbot and figuring out what this does. So like 2 years of researching has got me to the point where I, you know, really know broadcasting now.
That's really dope.
Appreciate it.
Like, I'm always impressed by people who are willing to take that effort to go through and teach themselves this stuff. But Zamanel, had the question, what exactly did you loop?
So it would be like at that time I had a program called Drum Pads 24. And it's a basic app. You can just have assigned loops, and it was real simple. So I would hook that up to my auxiliary into my looper, and then I would practice making beats with that. And then I would also beatbox and stuff, but I really wasn't as confident in beatboxing the loop. And I wanted to be like Dub Effects with an effects pedal of some kind to mess with my voice and use my voice as an instrument. But I never really attained that until later on. And even now, I still don't loop as much as I want to, but I have an Akai MPC that I could make, you know, beats with right now and just start looping and whatnot. But ultimately, it was mainly just putting a beat on through a tablet or something and the auxiliary cord and freestyle into it on the streets.
And how did that go? Like, was the reaction dope?
The first show that I did, I ended up getting a $50 tip. Because this dude was walking by and he was like, yo, Danita needs this shit, man. Keep doing it. And then other people would be like, where's the hat at? Where's your tip hat? And then I'd just be freestyling and stuff about random stuff or just making shit up. And I did a few shows where I'd bring some guests with me. And like my boy, fuck is his name? Well, first, one of them was DJ Hurley. He brought his guitar and we'd loop and freestyle like that. And another one was my dude, Irv the villain, and he ended up playing piano and stuff, and we'd loop it. And it was really like a few sparse moments of doing that sidetrack thing, but that gave me the experience and it embarrassed me enough to sort of learn, you know, that's really what I've gone through this whole time with broadcasting, sidewalk, freestyling, and even just, you know, anything on Twitch is just sucking up that embarrassment and just really turning that into confidence, you know?
Yeah, that one I can relate to. It is a lot of awkward moments in this, or a lot of
and it's just you by yourself right there in that room. It's like, the people are on the other side of the camera, but you have to deal with your embarrassment of, all right, do I show that I'm embarrassed or do I play this off and do something else to make it fun? Or, you know, it's on you. It's in your own mind that you have to conquer.
Or especially when you have to do live tech support on yourself or somebody else with an audience in front of you, and you're like, and then
you're like, check the output,
and then
is it plugged in?
At a certain point, I don't know. I guess I got used to it, and I'm no longer worried about it. But there was a
or you make it fun, you know. It seems like you do that where you just make it fun and brush it off like it ain't shit.
Yeah, I try to just roll with the self-aware awkwardness of it. Like, this is what everyone feels like, world. We all suffer together.
And that's what I think people come to it for, because, you know, when I freestyle, there's like, especially the beginning of my Twitch, and the whole September to December Facebook thing, there's a lot of whack shit on there, you know what I mean? But I left it up because just to show people that if you were to persist and practice, then you could get to a better level to where I feel like I'm at now, you know?
Absolutely. And I really believe that. I did that with we used to do album reviews, and I don't know that I want to watch my old album reviews because it's probably real cringy. Real cringy.
And that's why I don't even watch my shit. I'm just like, oh, what the fuck, man, that shit. But then it's like I leave it up just to show people I went through this so you don't have to, you know what I mean?
Or even just the journey, right? Because there's the other side of it. There's a good chance that everyone is going to have to go through their version of that, right? Even if it's like the tech issues, fine, we solved that. There's still you have to put the work into all learning whatever comes with the journey. And chances are you're bad at it until you're not bad at it. And
that's what everybody needs to remember. You know, an expert started as a beginner, and it was all the failures that made him better, him or her. And ultimately, you know, people stop themselves because of the doubt more so than they just don't want to deal with the failure. But the ones that make it are the ones that kept jumping back up.
Yeah. And then it's also the other thing that you said, that was the other big thing that stops people, is when they don't feel like it and they give in too much to that feeling. Because, every now and again, you do need the little bit of rest and recreation. But like, a lot of times you don't feel like streaming, but if you give into that,
you have to, if you got a schedule and if you got people that are looking forward to it, even if it's one person,
that's it. And then otherwise, that, like, also there's just the habits of it. Like, for me, the main benefit of these interviews isn't necessarily that I'm gonna get 1 million people to watch me. It's I get to learn about your journey, and arguably you've done some super interesting things, especially in the last little while. So just to hear how you got there, that's big time experience points and shit. Like, it's all blessings. And if you have to kind of find reasons to do things, you know, so that when you don't feel like it in your soul, you're like, I can still go through it. So if you're trying to prove that point of 70 in a row and you're on 62, it doesn't matter if you don't feel like it. You can't be giving up after 62 straight days.
Exactly. And that type of discipline is really what everybody tries to attain, but most people just don't, because we naturally say, you know, oh, next week or tomorrow I'll do it or whatever. But a lot of the times, like I said, I just, you know, there was times where, and I used to start experimenting towards the end where I ended up taking my RC 505 with the DC converter inside my car, plugging it into that. And I ended up freestyling in my car driving. And I also, the last 2 episodes of Sidetracked 70, I ended up freestyling in St. Pete on the streets. So that was pretty cool as well. I got flicked off by this white dude walking, like, because I was talking about him when I was freestyling and stuff and shit like that. That's like, you know, it's like, if you look back at any of those videos, man, it's so much, like you said, cringe, but I also just feel that's what's led me up to the confidence that I have now on stream, as well as just with everything.
Which is honestly really cool to see. Plus, it's probably way less cringy for us than it is for you. You're probably the one that's feeling the worst about it.
Yeah, some people might be intrigued by it in the future. And then my first year of stuff, I took pictures of all my fucking janky setups of how I taped the tripod with the camera, or I left all the mistakes everywhere, just as like a behind the scenes, you know, thing in the future that maybe people might want.
Yo, they do want that shit. So later on, when they're making the documentary about you and shit, you got it. You'll just be like, bruh, allow me to help you. And they'll make it like
for
way
real.
more
Check
fun.
out YouTube, Sidetracked 70X. And, you know, shit like that is how I've always been envisioning this, you know, with Sidetracked being. Now, again, Sidetracked is because I, you know, get sidetracked in life. And, you know, this has been the only consistent, like, I'm trying to change my settings if it sounds, does it sound worse now with the AC?
It's all right, it stills.
All right. So with this in general, the whole thing was, it's the only thing that's given me focus and has given me enough, like, I've finally found something that I love doing and that I can do over and over, compared to jumping from making beats to videos to photography to all this stuff and having these phases. Now I can encompass all that together. And this is the culmination of all my experiences from Twitch. And then, you know, I've been on Twitch for 2 years now, and I've done a 24-hour stream, a 12-hour stream on December 1st of 2020, and then a 24-hour stream on my birthday, February 20th, 21. And then on the December 1st of the next year, I did a raid set, which was 14 artists that do 1 hour each and raid each other consecutively. And it was freestylers, loopers, beatboxers, and DJs. And I got another one in July coming up. And then on my birthday, of course, I did that world record thing. So I just keep trying to come up with bigger and bigger events of testing and challenging myself.
Expand on the world record thing.
Yeah, man, it was crazy because around the time of January, Watsky had just done the record. And so I ended up sort of watching that just out of curiosity of who had the longest freestyle. I forget what I was looking it up for, but he ended up having it. And I don't know, I was just like, man, I could do that shit. And not in a competitive way, but just like I wanted to do that shit. So I applied for it in March, and then it takes 12 weeks for approval. In July, they sent me the email saying that now we just need the evidence. So I held on to that idea, not really mentioning it. I put like a little secret revealer type thing on IG, that a picture of the Guinness website, so people would wonder. And then around after the raid set, because I concentrated on that and a few other things, and I was just getting into Somnium, I didn't really push the record thing until about the end of December/January. And I started saying, I'm about to go for this world record of the longest freestyle, 44 hours, 44 minutes, and 44 seconds.
Right.
And so, I needed a team of timekeepers, witnesses, and certain rules you got to follow with Guinness. So I got my team, Gadget Jam, to help me with that. And they were willing to go through and sit there and take shifts, because you can only do 4 hours on and 4 hours mandatory break for each witness.
So wait. Okay, can you explain that, the rules, the bit of the nuances there? So what I understood is, you applied to Guinness and said, I want to go for this record. And do you have to like prove that you're capable of doing it or something? Like, how does that work?
No, so they just send you the guidelines. If they needed to be here, I think that they would send somebody for some reason, or you would have to pay to have. So people think that they send them and they come out to do the record just because you ask, but you have to pay for that. You know what I mean? If you want the Guinness guy to be there with the whole suit and keeping track for you, you got to pay for that. And ultimately, there's a lot of rules that you have to follow from, the witness can't be anybody that's going to benefit from it, or, you can't stop rapping for more than 5 seconds. You can't stop the beat for more than 30 seconds. 5 minutes of break per hour. You can't repeat the same rap within 4 hours. And a couple other things. And I had to write down all the lyrics, keep, track of all the rest times.
Well, you had to write down all the lyrics? So, were you doing that, or was somebody doing that?
Well, we ended up recording it on YouTube, but luckily it transcribes it for you. So I'm going to copy and paste everything and then just verify that it's all correct. But I still got to listen to it all to make sure. And it's going to be a lot of time. I still haven't even jumped in. I've started the Excel sheet for all the time and stuff, and I've started to try to keep track of everything, but it's going to take like a week's time total.
That's wild. So
it's like a college project for real.
So you have to keep track of who each witness was for each person, and each witness has all their own rules. So they have to go 4 hours swapping in and out, etc., making sure that it's legit. They can't benefit from it. You have to now logistically do all this. This was all streamed. I saw it was a bunch of several Twitch streams. I could see it was like 12 hours on YouTube. So you have all the footage now that can go, this is exactly how it went. And then once you can kind of bake it into a package that makes it easy for Guinness to understand,
then they would just confirm it. But we're basically our own timekeepers, and we had to do all the work for this.
That's a lot, but it's probably worth it, because then you're going to show up on Google and they go longest freestyle thing and not Watsky. I have to give you props, though. I don't want any shade with Watsky, but like deep into his thing, it wasn't my favorite. It was dope in the sense that he was doing it, but it was I was impressed by your energy deep into it. Like, you somehow sounded fresh, like 30, 40 hours. Because I watch a lot of it, but I mean, you see it's happening, so I popped in.
From what you've seen.
And I was really, like, and I watched it live a bit. I think I was around when you broke the record. Like, so.
Yeah, I remember seeing you,
And it was like fucking, like, it was cool. But that was when I was like, wait, he's been rapping for 47 hours and he still sounds kind of fresh? And I'm like, that's fire. Like, sets a higher standard because sometimes people be a little lazy with the long ass freestyles. So I was just, how long have you done
Appreciate
this?
it.
Like, because it feels like you've been really at the freestyling. Like, is this like a main focus for you more than say songwriting or other elements?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I recently posted on Twitter, man. Sometimes when I go to write, it like bothers me how much I got to sit and control my energy to write. And I do write good. Like I could rap you something written and it'd be like better than my freestyles. But for some reason, freestyling is more satisfying, and just the freedom I get from it is not as, constricting, or, it doesn't make me feel like I have to write something for, to impress or whatever. I can just freestyle and somewhat say something. For one, it gives you more heart, or you can sense more heart from it. And then two, if you get to the level like Carrie Mack or somebody where you can freestyle really everything, that every line is dope, which is what I'm trying to get to, then, that's like just the same, if not better than writing. Cause I feel like I already have the writing skill if I sit down and concentrate. But when I do finally sit down, I get antsy, and I just like start wanting, for one, I get distracted, but two, I just really start wanting to like see result, and it just sort of bothers me sometimes when I write compared. So yeah, it's been more of a concentration since we used to go to Dunedin Lyricist Society with my boy John Diddy. That was like 2000 and I don't even know, bro. It's been like a good 7-8 years. And that around the time when I first got the RC was my only form of expression, was to go down there once a week to freestyle. And it just really honed in my skills. And I was already pretty decent back then. And a lot of people always seen that and been like, yo, Cess, you always kill it. And it was like, but I just wasn't as good as I am now, obviously. But it was like, I'd say total a good 7-8 years of freestyling as like a more focused concentration.
No, I feel that. I have a question that I feel like I completely forgot to ask you that I would be remiss to not ask. How did you land on sessions?
Oh, that's actually, it was so crazy because I wanted to come, I go by, my real name is Cessar, and I go by Cess, which is from back in the day. Somebody was like, man, your name's too hard, I'm gonna call you Cess. And it just sort of, and then it sort of stuck, and I love Cess because of how that came about. And when I created Sidetracked, I started doing the 70 streams in 70 days, but I didn't want it to be twitch.com/sidetrack sessions because I spell it with a CKT instead of an ED at the end. And then plus sessions, it's just all that was too much. So let me go back to this too. Sidetracked was me freestyling on the sidewalk. Sessions is the Twitch version of that busking. And so I ended up, to simplify it on YouTube, I made S for Sidetrack and then Sessions, and then it became Sessions. And now people call me that, which I actually like because I wanted to come up with a name besides Cess, but I just could not. And I didn't want to really change it if it wasn't as good.
That's wild. I just thought your name was Sessions. Like, that's how I've only ever seen you. Because I got into VR, which is, for me, the geekiest part of this that I'm the most excited for, back in like whatever. So as I talk about VR, I got told Sessions, and the next dude whose name starts with M that I can't remember right now, they already be doing it. And I said, what? They already be doing it? How am I not following this person? And that's when I jumped on and saw Peep You with your little VR background and stuff. And so I just always saw it as Sessions, and it just says Sessions everywhere. And that's how people just refer to you as. So I'm just like,
exactly.
And I'm like,
it's crazy, man, because I wanted a name, and then it ended up being perfect because it came about accidentally.
Because I low-key thought the capitalized Cess part was about weed. And I fucking had no idea it was anything else, but that's wild. What is Solarium? I think that's what it is, because I discovered you're on that. And I mean, I'm not
Somnium.
I can follow the VR chat very well, but I do not know any of the specifics of what your setup is.
Yeah.
Somnium. And okay, Somnium.
Yeah, Somnium space. Yep. And so it's crazy how it came about. So I've been on Twitch for 2 years, and there's this dude, Brightside Movement, who makes beats and productions contests. So I used to join those and whatnot to force myself to get back into making beats a little. And he used to mess with another guy, Blake Hotz, who does beat competitions from Miami or whatever. And it was just more so like techno and, drum and bass type of beat competition. So one day he came and raided, and we started to get to know each other. And I also did a Honeycomb beatbox. He did his raid set, or he did like a raid fest last year, and I joined that. And you know, right around that time, Blake was just getting to know me and stuff, but he just showed me so much love. And we're both Pisces and whatever the case, and he just sort of was hyped like me and this and that. So we ended up clicking, and he told me about NFTs in April of 21. Come around to August, he's like, bro, I've been telling you, come on, jump into the PC client, download it. And I finally got a new computer from a friend that seen me streaming, and he's like, you got the fire, you just need the fuel. So he paid $140 to send me a computer from Cali, and this thing has got like 24 gigabytes of RAM and this and that. Okay. And I mean, honestly, like I also want to mention, go out there and do it for anybody out there, because if I didn't do that Sidetracked 70X, by the way, my boy sent me he sent me $100. Another guy sent me all these other tips, which got me the computer to keep streaming. And then after doing that, the homie sent me the computer to keep it going. So things are going to happen if you go out there and put in the action, is what I'm getting at.
Huge facts.
But in August, I created the Somnium space, and I was starting to get into MetaMask and wallets.
Right, so we got to go a little slower at this point, because, I mean, I know what MetaMask is because I have a MetaMask, and that was the free wallet thing. I don't know any of the other wallets. I just know I have it, and that you need it for Decentraland. And that I had to log in with MetaMask, or I chose to, at least there. Is this Somnium similar to Decentraland in terms of like what it is?
Yeah, let me show you this though. This is, using Somnium.
Okay.
So this is the WebXR version, which is similar to Decentraland's, way of doing things. But then there's also a downloadable PC client, which you can go into 2D mode and VR, and it has a builders to create if you own land. So with the 2D mode is what you use if you don't have VR. And that's what I've been using since I've been in there. So I would go to the meetups at 4 p.m. every day, which is 10 p.m. Central Eastern Europe time. And the owner of Somnium is in Czech Republic, and a lot of people that are into all of that are also out there, as well as Americans and all that. But so we'd go to the meetup, and me and Blake would always meet, and I started just going and getting to know people. So one day we all went to this one place, and half of the bunch, or just me and one dude, stayed here, and everybody ran that way to go do something. And we went to this location that had a microphone. I placed one of my beats. It was just like, through my RC, the audio goes in and you can hear the beat and the vocals. And then everybody comes rushing back. The owner of Somnium, Arthur, seen me freestyling, and everybody was wilding out, dancing and shit. And then as soon as I was done, he's like, yo, I'm renting you the comedy club. So then that's where he ended up giving me the parcel that he owns, which is, the basement, which I turned it into. It was a comedy club with the design of it and everything, but I just revamped the colors, made it more cyberpunk type colors, and made it this and that to where it looks like this now. So when you go to it, you have your name, you log in as, whatever you create, and you can change your avatar, or you can log in like this guy right here and then not have any look to it.
Can you import custom avatars?
Sort of. You can import them from Ready Player Me. So like if I choose my avatar like this, you go to Ready Player Me and connect it to the Somnium Space app, and they're actually going to be the #1 place for already made avatars.
So what is Ready Player Me?
It's readyplayer.me. And if you go to it, it's going to show you, let me see.
This is so
already
cool.
Locked. Yeah, so that Ready Player Me is going to give you a universal avatar that you're going to be able to use in pretty much every metaverse. Oof. Because they're that big. And so when you do create it, you can take a selfie. It's going to give you the shape and look of your face already. Because if you look at these right here on the screen, this is similar to what mine looks like already. So I'll just do it like this.
Yo, that's wild stills.
So this, these are all the characters I've made, but you can only have, I think, 8 or whatever. This is the one that I used during the world record thing, but you would use right click to look around. As a matter of fact, join me in here so you can show people if you want.
I do not have it set up yet, But I've
Okay, just log in as guest if you want, and I'll just sort of
hold on.
I'll explain it to you, but then obviously so you can see what it's like.
Shit,
So
I don't know. How can we do this?
you don't have to.
I gotta think like.
Never mind. Let me just show you like this. It'll be easier.
Yeah, I'm like I gotta, but I want to set up so I can do that next time and flip into a version of this where I can cover myself with the avatar. That's a fire idea.
And then Monday is when I do my freestyle cipher. It's been the longest running event in Somnium. That's every week, and it's also been.
And what time on Monday?
10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So all I got to do if I want to come rap is log into Somnium on 10 p.m. and show up at your shit, and I can just come rap.
Yep. And then all you do is make sure you have headphones. This is the link right there for anybody who wants to bookmark it.
If you put it in the chat, I can put it.
All right. I put it in the
got it. Okay, so it's that
chat and on your Twitch. And then so basically I designed and made this look like it. And because of doing all this, I've actually concentrated. I got the creators fund from Somnium, which is a certain amount of money to push towards making your brand bigger. And then I started Servum.tech, which is Sidetracked, immersive reality, visuals, and music. And, you know, the basement was just something that came about when I first got out of going to the PC client the first time. I was so excited that I started writing lyrics about Somnium, and I was like, yo, we should make a video. And Blake used his avatars in front of a green screen within the world to create the footage. And he ended up making, you know, me and him ended up making the first Somnium music rap video. And it's real dope, man. What you can do in here is like limitless creativity, and it's nuts.
Man, I'm super sold on this shit. Like, you have no, like, I've been waiting a long time, actually. I saw Sansar in 2019.
Yeah, they're really clean looking.
And, I mean, to be fair, all of these communities, whenever I logged in, were, like, super full of kids. And it was, like, I could not convince grown-ass rappers to show up to this shit. Like,
exactly.
It's never been,
and so it's been hard, man. It's like nobody really shows up as consistent, but because I've been consistently doing it, now people are starting to come about. Because honestly, with anything you do, it takes a year for people to build the rapport and actually trust that you're not going to fall apart. Just like with sales, I've done sales my whole life, or, you know, the majority of my adult life. And, you know, when you're trying to get a customer to believe in you, you're just another run-of-the-mill company with a product until you show me that you've been consistent every time. So after a year, they start trusting that you're going to be doing it for a while longer. So again, this is a design that I can change and move everything around how I want to.
That's
and
wild.
like I put this pop culture picture up to showcase my era of growing up, as well as just, you know, something to sort of make it more universal. Because I had this picture up there, which is a bunch of hip hop artists. I had that on this wall, but this lady was Tanya mentioned it. She's like, it's not as inviting. You know, I don't really get into hip hop, so I don't feel comfortable. And I was like, that's good that you told me that, because it might be that way. So I adjusted it. And so, you know, this is like a gift that you put on the wall. And these are gifts as well with the bottles, and made a little bar with it. And then I made this gift right here on Giphy.com, where I took all these different third-party tools.
Basic shit to create like next level shit.
For real. And like this barcade, I made it into a sphere shape through a third party, and then I uploaded it on Giphy, and then I put it in here because you need it to be a URL link. And just, you know, these speakers I made with the square shape, and just put the texture around it, wrapped around it. And, you know, since having the money from the Creators Fund, I paid somebody on Fiverr to make this. This is just a Street Fighter thing. But this is where the game room is. So I made it where you can put this browser on. And when I view in the world, or you could view outside of the world, it takes you to my YouTube. And so when I'm streaming on YouTube, like, for instance, you would see the screen of me right here, and all this of my avatar would be on there. And then I'll put up like word generators, like rap script or whatever. And then that'll be like this, where you can see the words, and people can watch that as it's changing in order for us to rap to it. While I'm in the pasture, you know, I'm thinking and I'm tainting anybody who just likes painting, whatever. So it's like, you know, this is how I'm able to play games, trivia, riddle games, etc.
Bro, this is wild shit. Cause like, this is what my dream, and why I was so excited to talk to you really, is cause you've got like the VR side on lock. Like, the guy who's editing this video after is my dude
Yeah.
who's looking into the logistics of this. So you just gave him
Yeah,
like
man.
a fucking gold mine. But like the other side of it is this just bridges into real life as the world opens up like super well, because that little TV you have there could just be like a Twitch feed to a camera of a real life audience, and then that audience can see a projection of the VR room, and it just creates like this like simulcast experience of
mixed reality.
it's fucking
And so
so
that's
cool.
actually what's happened, bro. I actually found a location. My boy, I'm also in a real life group now called Gadget Jam, and we all just take all of our beat machines and gadgets and make an art party with visuals, music, and like drawing on the tables with paper covering it and stuff like that. So it's just we found a VR location, which is the only one in the world with that many simulators in it, down in Clearwater, that opened up recently, and we did our first show there, where it has these, it has 4 VR headsets and the Omni walking platform thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where you can walk around.
So it's basically
Like the
like better VR emulation of your actual movements. Plus, they got like the walking pad thing.
Let me show you. I'll actually even show you.
That's probably
my
easiest.
IG. And this is a little trailer that I made for it recently, which was, let's see here. She's hot.
Amaranth is a whole vibe.
So then this right here is a little trailer that I made. This is what it looks like in there.
Say word. I want to
So
be
this
there.
they ended up letting us use this spot for free, and we ended up throwing a show there where we performed outside, and then I used my phone to film it on Twitch, and then people were in VR watching us in real life. So it's the opposite, vice versa, which was pretty dope.
Right.
And it's the first mixed reality show at the basement. You know, this guy is an astrophysicist that made all this. He's been working on this simulator for like, all these different simulators are just computer programs with the VR guy that they made. And it's like $1 a minute type thing. But it's that was me and Somnium using VR for one of the first times and meeting up with Blake. And it was real dope everybody was like, oh, Cess is in VR, because I've always been in 2D. So it was real dope to do this as well. And, we hosted that first show there. So that's a big accomplishment as well. And just things like that are what I'm trying to do is, break barriers, break the idea, physical and mental constructs of what you're, doing with life and how you look at it. Because there's no limit and, there shouldn't be. And so everything I do has just been based on that and trying to, expand my creativity and limitlessness and show everybody else how to break out of normalcy.
Yeah, I'm with it. I mean, it's really encouraging, to be honest. Like, it's been a tough sell on this VR shit. All I can say is I did a little open mic in May of 2020, and I put that into a music video, and that was like, and it's not even a lot. There's like literally like 8 seconds of me in VR footage in that music video, but I've been on it for like a desire. I had some Oculus issues, so it kind of like sucked me out for a bit, but also I bought a Rift S right before the Quest 2 came, and that was very discouraging because the Quest 2 is clearly like what VR would you recommend? Do you think it's the Quest 2? Do you think like Oculus is taking this?
All right, so one thing I recently seen about that is that the Quest 2 is becoming somewhat of a brick where there's certain updates or programs that you are going to be limited to, I guess, or it's not going to be, I don't know, they're probably going to make it more so like where I don't exactly know how it's going to go, but just consider that it might be, one of those purchases that becomes obsolete soon. I can't guarantee that or whatnot, but I would say Vive is a dope headset, but it's like $1,000. And then I think it's Valve Index is another one, but those are pretty expensive. So if you are trying to find an inexpensive route, Oculus 2 is the best one. And, just, I guess, be careful that, hopefully it makes it where you can still use that in the majority of VR platforms. But one thing I heard is that you can actually hack into it and make it connect with certain websites and stuff. If you look into, I forget what it's like side chaining or something like that, but you can hack it and do certain things to it if you're limited.
That's wild stills.
Oculus 2 is probably the best inexpensive, but then Valve Index or Hive, Vive is the better versions.
And you don't really need VR to be in this space. This is basically the bigger point too, because pretty much everything seems to have like a 2D desktop client, and the VR is more like a add-on. Are you able to make your avatar, like, let's say you have a custom avatar, does that like respond to a VR headset? Is that built into it, or does that require extra effort?
So with the setup that they have with the rigging of the avatar through the bone structure within it on Unity or whatever the case is going to correlate to the way that the VR recognizes it in the app you're using. So for the most part, all the fingers and everything will still be usable and movable as long as your avatar is rigged correctly.
Right. Is it hard?
Bone structure.
Is it hard to rig an avatar?
I mean, I haven't even dove into that aspect yet. I'm just now learning Blender, and I'm trying to get Unity, but I've only used the SDK to upload things into Somnium. But once I do learn Blender, then I think it'll correlate and translate to Unity, and I'll be able to make games, make worlds, visual scripting with, Bolt and certain things like that is what I'm aiming towards.
So people are going to take music video to a game level where like the music video is now a game where you literally play the music video as opposed to it just being...
You are the character. So in the future, I'm going to be making a game called, it's going to be like where we're the rappers and we're the characters that come into the basement, and it's a barcade, and we're going to have the certain cards and certain things that you can play. So if you're a barbarian card holder and there's another one in there, you can challenge them to a beat battle or a freestyle battle right then and there and take their card. Or, you can accept it, or you can say no, and then you might lose some experience points or something like that. So I'm going to really gamify this whole thing. But right now it's just the onboarding accessibility portion of it, trying to get people into it, like you said, because I've asked like a bunch of people in direct messages on IG, Discord, etc., to jump in, but it's like obviously everybody's hesitant, or they say, oh yeah, that looks dope, but then they never come. So I'm not expecting anybody. I'm just doing my thing, and I know it's going to catch on because I'm the first and only freestyle metaverse club.
My girlfriend may not love what I'm about to say, but I'm super down to show up Mondays at 10 p.m. if I'm not still live.
For real. Hey.
No, like saying, for real. Like even if it's like a couple of times a month, once a month, I can't tell you what I can commit to. It's late.
No worries.
But
let me show you a couple of things real quick, if you don't mind, as to like what it looks like.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is, I'm gonna change my screen again. So this is in the club where.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's like I saw MX's fucking face and shit. I'm like,
For real, man. And it's like, that was a worldwide cipher in the basement. This was one of the first ones we did because I host the 10 p.m. one since September. And I recently started a 2 p.m. one for people in Europe because I've been full time with content creation since January 1st, just to jump and take a leap.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, man. I've been trying to, I'm at the barrel scraping point of it where I'm trying to get the money to at least pay the bills. But if I can pay the bills, I'll keep going. I might end up going back to the workforce. It just depends. But either way, it's been a great experience to wake up with the freedom of not knowing, or not having to go to work and shit like that. So the reason I say that is to say that this was a 2 p.m. one that we started where MX showed up, Ryan Bell flows, and Throde Genji is the partner that started me with. He started this with me since the beginning. Shout out Throde Genji. Yeah, for real, man. That's the homie. And so this is just a quick cipher. And the latency in America is real small, like when Throde goes, but when it's from Africa and Germany, you can hear it's a little later.
Hold on. I don't hear it. Maybe.
You probably don't hear it that much, but what I'm saying is.
I mean, I don't hear the volume at all.
Oh, all right. Hold on. Oh, it's because I have this desktop muted. My bad. Here, so.
Still no.
He's like a one half of a bar.
You know what? I'm gonna play. I don't know if maybe I should just play it on my side.
Yeah, do that maybe.
I know what video that is. That's like great.
Oh, it's because of Zoom. It's not. Let me just. Yeah.
I have to turn on sharing for you, I think.
No. It's just that my output for the Zoom is not going to correlate through the OBS. It's just my video that's showing.
Right. Yeah,
but I'm gonna send it to you.
Fair.
And the only other thing, since you mentioned it, I wanted to share the fact that that video, you know, where it becomes. See, I'm also doing tutorials and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's fire. Still,
I'm just trying to show people the capabilities, help them onboard, and just be the. I call myself like the Somnium Sage Guide.
I have to share the audio with you again.
All right.
Boom, boom. No, that's that.
Placement in the basement, you know it's what we do, we chase it. The only focus is the success. What's next? Hopefully we get a whole crowd.
Are you able to full screen it?
It'll be like a little crop, but yeah.
Oh, you put a crop on it. All right.
Yeah, it's a little cropped. Yeah.
Oh, it's all good.
Usually, I like.
And you could skim through it. I was just showing you what it's like to have people in there. And the most that I've had in there is fucking like 20, 25 people, man. It's crazy. But
it's so grassroots, man. It's like, this is like literally pioneer shit. Now, I know like there's been at least a couple of like fucking more conventional shows that have happened in other spaces. I followed a couple of things, but like really, it's mostly at the point where like my man's is telling me like people are still just like freestyling in like alt space VR and VR chat mostly.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like these type of things are. I'm able to say I did the first rap video in Somnium space, which is here, and I'm also able to say that I run the only freestyle hip hop club in the metaverse in general. Besides like, you know, alt space and other places that are. I don't know of any, but I mean, I'm at least able to say that about Somnium, and you know, I'm pioneering that aspect and on Twitch.
Like at this point, there might be 30 people that have done a thing. Like, you know, like it's not like the space is super like open. I mean, and like stuff like alt space is more like geared towards not this because they clearly like kids because it's just full of kids and shit. And VR chat's wild, but it's like not focused on anything.
There's an underground scene in VR chat that you have to know people to get invited to. That's sort of what I've learned. So obviously when you go to these popular worlds and stuff in VR chat, that's all the more like commercial popular area where everybody has access to. Yeah. But if you get invited and start meeting people, then that's where you can find some really dope environments and people.
That's what I figure the future is going to be, because it reminds me just in a real life comparison to like hot clubs back in the day where like you're not supposed to know. Like it's almost like everything went from being so accessible that exclusivity is kind of sexy again. So nobody like if only 30 people are there and it's late, who cares? This is the lit.
And that's sort of what my whole thing with my NFTs and what I'm going to be dropping for the basement is. They're going to be access to exclusive private instances that you can only get with the unlockable feature in that NFT, or, you know, you're going to get this card and be able to grab the mic at any point. That if you hold the I call it the V-Styler card, you know, so if you hold that card, then you'll be able to jump on the mic and freestyle and shit like that. Bunch of utility behind my NFTs is what I'm going for that incorporates with the basement and my brand in general.
I always thought NFTs' real value was never going to be in the way that most people are pushing it, and it was always going to be fan club stuff because, like, as a teenager, I spent money to superfluously be in the Linkin Park Underground. I did it year over year over year, and I got a shirt and some other shit. But frankly, they could have given me nothing but a plastic card that said I was in the underground. And that was enough for me. So if NFTs get tied to culture or utility, like I would pay for a NFT that would like give me backstage pass access. Like why the fuck not? That sounds cool as fuck.
And so you get the all these different accesses or merch that I might hand draw and then send it to you that shows that it was drawn on and stuff like that, where it's like I want that to be how people get in you know, into my NFTs and digital assets and that aspect. So I'm trying to learn Blender to be able to create all these different ideas and implement them. But ultimately, I was going to mention something about, we were just talking about, you know, alt space and being the first cipher and stuff like that. But just to be able to claim things like that, it was, you know, something that started back on Twitch 2 years ago when I was at my boys' Discord New Year's Eve party. We were all on Discord around the world in different rooms, but it was awkward to be there digitally. But I seen the future, and I just wanted to close that gap of being a streamer to the viewer, because when you're a streamer, it's a one-sided friend dynamic that they only get to be text, and we get to be the person that they're, you know, communicating with. So I wanted that to close a little bit, and this is the next best thing to being in person.
That's true, because like, I mean, I look at like VR, like it's not like amazing in the sense of real life connections are amazing, and it's like, but it's not like meant to be that. But I met Grandmaster Kaz in a VR space and fist bumped him, and that was as cool to me as if I'd met him in real life and fist bumped him. Like, frankly, I don't need the memory of meeting him in real life. I met his avatar and fist bumped him. It was good enough.
And that's what it is, bro. It's like it's just immersive, and it's just the same thing until you go. So one thing is 2D is nothing compared to VR, because you're playing as the character and you're behind him. But when you're VR, it's like everything is there and you are the character, and it's like nothing can explain that until you do it.
Yeah, no, like I mean, it honestly doesn't look amazing in 2D, like the way you want it. Like I don't mean it looks bad. It looks way better now than it did, but it doesn't look amazing enough to be like a compelling experience to go up to an average person and be like, bro, this is better than other things. However, it is better than other things, like once you're in it. And like, yo, some of these like video games where if they were a 2D video game, I would never play. But I'm playing shitty ass zombie shooters here and there because honestly, the experience of cocking the gun and having to like actually aim it. And they're like, hold on, my arm is getting tired. Because, like, you know, like it's physically involved, or you start ducking.
That's like nothing compared to real life war and stuff, but you're still getting tired to experience the fatigue that you have to survive, or, you know, like those type of things are what's going to make it where, you know, it's going to be the future. And I just wanted to jump on it ahead of the curve. I was ahead of the curve on Twitch and trying to tell people to join me. Nobody did. And now they're starting to join Twitch, but I'm already ahead of the curve doing VR and trying to tell people to join in. And some people, because of my rapport and stuff, are finally trusting that what I'm talking about and what they see on my stream on Mondays is really dope. But most people are still just not going to jump in because it's awkward, or they just don't know what to do, or how to onboard is the biggest hurdle for a lot of people.
Always onboarding. I made a doc file called How to Stream to Twitch. It's about 1,700 words, and it links to a video I made in 2020 about rapping on beat with OBS and getting voice meter and shit. Because like onboarding is hard. Like my dream, I had a cipher I was doing on Zoom last year, freestyle shit. Like MX wanted to come, but he's like, bro, it's like I live in South Africa and you live in here, and the time zones don't match. Like, fair. But like we were doing it, and it was Zoom, and Zoom is kind of corny. Like Zoom is alright for this. This is a good use of Zoom. But like when you get into the VR vibes, I was like, nah, that's what it needs to be in and shit. So like the problem though is that like there's a lot of questions on how to do things and not a lot of solutions. So like I actually wanted to get into VR right quick in 2020, but we couldn't figure out how to rap on a beat because there was literally just no way to like
with me, just because I know that you're passionate about it, and we should definitely do something more than just, you know, you should either join me on what I'm doing and we can figure out a way for you to host your own spot or whatever, but let's collab.
No, we can definitely. I have so many ideas on how to basically to me the future is like what I'm doing now. Why I fuck with Twitch over, because I was on YouTube. YouTube was my shit for a while because I learned the SEO and I was doing album reviews, and I won't say I was popping, but I got a little bit of money, so it excited me.
You're getting bigger in general.
I got more clout, and I mean, either way, consistency. We put out over 1,000 videos since 2016, like on one channel. Like, it's like a lot of effort that we did there.
It's all probability and consistency, bro.
Facts.
If you do it enough, people are gonna take a notice. And that's all it is.
I got a few cool people to take notice along the way, which is a lot of pride in my soul. But really, it's the confidence, like you said. And then I moved into streaming. Because I realized I should have just been streaming the whole time, but it was the epiphany that VR is the future. Discord is a better reflection of the future than anything else for the people out there because it's private spaces where it's invite only in a sense, and then it's all live in real time. But it's shit because it's a text forum and nobody likes Discord.
Well, no, you can do cameras and stuff. Me and Ryan Bell Flows actually recently did that Cypher, if you've seen that.
I didn't want to take away from the call side. The call side's pretty cool, but like the visual aesthetic of Discord is like you're staring at a text forum of boring. And we use Discord for our Jackbox Thursday nights. So like, it's like, it's there. It's not my favorite, but if we could do it all in a space like what you have with like the way you had MX's camera on your face and shit, like that's actually kind of hype, where it moves it into a more, you can start seeing facial reactions again and shit like that, where it's a dope idea.
And then you can signify when somebody wants to jump on instead of like stepping on each other's toes because you're only in audio, you know?
And I would love to do like this show in VR, like this kind of shit, and then do it in real life and then in VR at the same time. And like that's the kind of like next steps for me, is to figure out how to replicate a lot of this shit. Like I told you, my man's editing this. He's gonna be taking notes and shit. And we're gonna have to talk after for that.
Real. But like, definitely mess with me. I'm gonna send you this link, and I'm gonna get some water because it's getting hot in here since I turned the AC up. Man. But so play that link, and I'm gonna grab some water to cool down the core temperature.
Start the link. I'm gonna run to the bathroom while you're doing that.
So yeah, man. And then besides that, just been trying to, you know, push boundaries ever since. I do like a different theme every Monday. One will be shout out the producers. One is trivia night. One is riddle night. You know, now this Monday, I think I'm going to do almost like a Easter egg hunt where I'm going to put my son plays Roblox, and he found this one called Find the Marker. And so it gave me the idea to, you know, put little images around the club that you have to find all 10 images, and then I'll give you an NFT or something.
Yeah, that's wild still. So you're not even the first person to mention Roblox recently. I was talking to a dude who was telling me how there was like...
That's kids VR, bro. It's
but
crazy.
They got like record, but it's even more like they got like record labels and shit. Like man's participated in whole tournaments, rapidy rap stuff, all for like the equivalent of $40 of Roblox money. And I'm like, holy shit. Like that was like a lot of like where I think a lot of the older cats who are out there are sleeping on it because to them there's no value. You hear the word value a lot, and I don't think people know what the word means, man, because man, it's super subjective, and what isn't valuable to you might be really valuable to a 8-year-old that's playing Roblox. Like my little cousin.
And that's the future generation, bro. They're going to be watching us. And, you know, if you want to have a solid foundation, that's what you need is the kids coming up, you know, and then for longevity too.
If they geeking about, which isn't even different than us. Cause like, I think people actually forget about Neopets. Like people wildly forget about all these fads that are effectively mini metaverses where a bunch of us pump money into because we just thought it was fucking cool, or like, arguably, what's the value of a Beyblade or a, you know, like some of these things?
Everything, bro. Video games, Twitch, fucking everything. Twitch has emotes and bits that you buy for more than $1 to spend under that. You know, you're buying $1 worth of bits for $120. You're buying emotes from subscribing and not getting commercials, or, you know, that person. It's like, ultimately, what I've realized with NFTs is using somebody's imagination to make them more childlike, and then having that immersiveness of, you know, like Dungeons and Dragons. You're playing with dice, a character on a board, but you're making up these scenarios of what happened to that character in your head, you know?
Bro, imagine Dungeons and Dragons in VR. Holy shit.
That's what I'm trying to do, dog. That's what I'm saying. Let's get together and we can create this.
And I swear, my homeboy, on a side note, man, there's other people that might actually be super cool for this. Like my homeboy, Lemef, is making a tabletop, like his own tabletop. So it's like to be
what do you mean?
Like Dungeons and Dragons is effectively a tabletop RPG. He's making his own shit, his own IP. So like people be out there doing these crazy things that can synergize into like a greater
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what
it's
I think
limitless,
the future
bro.
is. Because I didn't even realize how you could gamify it like you're describing, and I didn't understand why people are geeking on it like that. But if you could make people,
that's what I'm trying to do, man.
Like, and if you could make it like a fun game of some kind, like I don't know how to make it fun or not, but like you could actually go grind and like swing my sword and fucking kill some shit and get points. That would be like,
that's what I'm saying. So in the future, this is just the beginning stage of the basement, but in the future I want it to be a tower that you go up like on Ong Bak when he's walking up that tower and fighting in that one long shot, similar to that, but in the middle it'll be a floating stage and stuff that has the freestylers that are sitting there freestyling in the middle, and along the wall, along the whole spiral, are a bunch of video games. So you could play video games while you're listening to background hip hop freestyle battles and shit like that. And again, the cards that we host, the cards that we hold and whatnot will be what you get access to within that place. And once I do own my own land and I have, you know, an Excel parcel to work with, like my shit's going to be off the chain.
You know
like
what?
It's like, this is just the beginning stages, bro.
Something else you said's fucking wild too, if you really think about it. The whole card thing, so the barbarian card shit, right? Like, cause there's a lot of talkity talk in an unprovable way about who the best and who can do this and who can do that. And let's say you and I had a little beefy poo and we had a little battly poo. There's no way to like actually prove a thing. But in NFT land, arguably, you could start to document shit in a way where you get stats that are really accessible. And I think the gamification of adding stats, like, I don't know who was the dopest. Like, if there's a way to create a trading card with stats on the back of it out of artists, that just is too fire.
Let me put you on the game right now. This is what I just recently added to my Twitch in order to do the idea of basement cards. Like, you can change the card, you can change the look of it. You can add this to it. Plus, people can pay for the packs and they get random cards that they can throw down on the stream, and then it pops up like an alert.
Oh my fucking god, this is so fire.
It's fucking sick, bro. And I made a bunch of them towards the basement. You can actually look at mine if you want, but I'm
looking at yours right now, bro.
You know, like you could be like, all right, if somebody buys a pack of cards, this is my collection if it shows it to you. But if you buy a pack of cards, then you could fucking like, all right, I'm going to drop this card and I want the interviewee to say this right now. And then you'd be like, hey, the guy's paid for this. Can you do that for him? You know, shit, like you can make up any kind of card you want.
You can go even so deeper than that. Like, let's look at this a different way. I have a documentation project because I live in Montreal, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of English artists, but we don't necessarily get noticed because we're just notoriously a French province and stuff. So I'm like, let me start tracking all the English artists. Imagine then you could create like trading cards out of these people that would like link back to their music and create like sets, like the 2022 Montreal hip hop set. And it's just like, you know, like just some fucking wild shit that could be done with this. Oh my gosh.
That's actually an idea I had a while back, roster rapper cards. And I wanted to do it with local artists around here, but I never ended up doing it. But something like where, you know, you get this person and it shows their strengths, their weaknesses, their experience points and this and that, you know. Yeah,
I'm so with it. Man, this is so cool. Like, and it's hard to find people that are that cool about, like, that are that excited about it. It's very rare for me, to be honest. So, damn.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I could see it in you as well. So that's what I'm saying. And you look like a cool dude to where I'd rather fuck with the people that I know are real.
Oh, shit. Chris Chrome, editor man, is here. Chris is like, that's going to be like the guy who's doing heavy lifting in terms of some of the shit. He's the one who's going to meet the people to get us into the cool VR chat parties.
Hey, and I'm saying, bro, like I've networked myself into a great position. Like I'm renting from the owner of Somnium space. And because of all this work that I'm putting in, he's like, you know, they're rolling out updates and things that are being specified towards like the WebXR. So I'm able to keep pushing and doing certain things. So it's like, I just feel like I'm in a great position to, for one, I'm pioneering stuff. And then two, once I learn Unity, Blender, and all that, I'm going to have the limitless. I even going to go as deep as learning code and stuff because I want to be able to just create anything in my mind. That's
Crispy learning a lot of the Unity shit like in real time. Like I found a girl who does Blender work right now. So she's be learning how to do that side. Crispy learning how to Unity it up or whatever. Like basically he's doing that shit because I don't have the time to do that sharp part. Like I have to accept the limitations of my life. I got to do some other parts of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And he be doing that part of it. Plus, I'm not a designer. You guys like drawing? That's not me. I'm a word
you
guy.
Gotta learn. You gotta have the drawing form down first. You know, drawing. Shapes, squares, how to use things, and then once you get painting, that's sort of adding color, textures, etc. But you know, with Blender and all that. I just know since I'm an artist, I can create things. I can sculpt with clay in real life. So once I learn all the tools, because if you learn 80%, if you learn 20% of all the tools, keyboard shortcuts, etc., you can make 80% of the stuff that you see. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's definitely talk, Chris. And then here's you want me to share the stream loops thing, or if you want
Chris,
to, whatever.
Chris is my guy. Anything, we're just gonna get it to him. Chris is there.
So yeah, man, I'm definitely down to talk. And if he wants one day, or maybe if I don't know what he's doing.
Chris, we're going to go rap on Mondays in his VR spot. Mondays 10 p.m.
Yeah, man.
Chris doesn't have a choice sometimes.
This is the link. Bookmark that. 10 p.m. on Monday. Yeah. And then we're gonna get down, bro. And I mean, if you wanted to, we can get down right now.
Like in Solarium, I have to set up first.
Not in Somnium, but just like if I was to do this, like see how it sound. Hey.
I don't know how loud that is.
Is it loud?
Nah, it's good though. Hold on, I don't know if I hear you over the beat. I don't know the mix, but yo.
Check.
Can you
I'ma turn it down.
lower the beat and raise you?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. Now let me hear how your latency is like.
Alright, if I come and rap thing, I think usually with the way the latency do is that it sounds kind of delayed consistently, so it'll be off, but it'll be still proper to the peeps listening. At least that's how the internet be when we rapped on the Zoom regularly. Damn, I'm glad that I've been still trying to keep my knife a little sharp, freestyling in the morning to vent off frustrations. I wake up kind of mad, but I know that you can't be so mad when you're trying to go out through your day. Smiles bringing the energies of the track. Like, check it, man, this interview, if I gone and wrong attitude now, it wouldn't have ended up in the business propositions that we trying to kick up and flip it around and kind of innovate and bring in the future and kind of show the people up there that we glisten in with the way that I must be listening to the energies of the universe and be stripped in and show the whole world other ways to be living. Yeah.
And the way that we giving, the way that we do it, we never live it. We gotta get up in it, yeah, be stupendous now. Every time I go, man, I've been bending backwards, bending styles, and I do it like it's like a pen and out. I just kidding with this shit. I don't know, but I've been kidding all up in it with the spit. When I go inside the metaverse, I'ma speak it out until my head will burst. Cause you know it's like the red or worse. That's when you end up with a pool of red. You can see it now because they drool instead. And I be that one that's coming through. I use my tool and feds, trying to stop me, but they can't. Like a SWAT team, I do it. Yeah, you know we steady rocking on them hot scenes. On that basement shit, we lace it quick. You know it's just amazing when I start to spit. Got my homie behind that suit. Yeah, you know we rip every time we climb and let the shit just ensue now. Every time I use it, sharpen up like a Ginsu style.
Yeah, again, Sue style, like we chefing in the kitchen, chopping that slice it up wild, not really that wild. I guess the bars is off. Sometimes you get freestyle, sometimes the confidence lets you walk it off. Everything is all about swagger now. Swagger's about how you fumble and rebound, and that's what the kids be looking for, cause nobody really that perfect inside the world. The Instagram, Photoshop, filter world in. People be calling up. The reality is people got to bounce back in this shit, and opportunities not the same. It's really consistency. Now I don't freestyle the same amount of sessions, but still I bring it. Gee, I understand, but it's all about the confidence to slip it in. If I'm live, I maybe need a couple drinks, and otherwise the nervous hits kicks in, and real life coming back. I'm gonna rap live in front of peeps again. So glad that I do the things I do and find the time to make the moves and coming around the groove. I can't wait to be up inside the VR2. Add that to the resume, and who knows, find my own way to just make it through. You said you was the first to do it, I'll be number 2.
Hey. Yeah, man,
that's fun. I should freestyle more on my interviews. You know, actually, a lot of rap like vets, like the OG types, are wildly like, I don't want to freestyle on my interviews. I want to tell you about my life. So I'm like, in a way, it works to not do it.
It changes it up and makes different energy. Plus, once you get that first feeling of like having the freestyle and the sort of the embarrassment of it, it cools down and you feel that excitement, adrenaline from it, and then it becomes a little more energetic too, you know?
Yeah, man, I'm glad I practiced freestyle. Yo, 2 years ago, that would have not been fun for me.
Yeah, that's what I was, man, I sucked at first, man. When in 17, I never freestyled.
Actually, I saw this like memory popped up last year. It was today actually. a year ago, I was doing this. We did 3 streams. We tried it out where this guy was doing hard style, like techno streams, and I was trying to rap on it, but he couldn't hear me, so it was weird, and we couldn't like coordinate. And I was really bad. That's what I like listened to today in the memories, and I was like, damn, in a year, like in 1 year, the amount of progress you can make with like vigilant effort. Like we did 37 of those cipher things, so I did a lot of practice. Don't get me wrong, but nah, it's really all it is you're gonna suck and then you get better.
Bro. It's just doing the same thing over and over. As long as it's a perfect. It's not practice makes perfect. It's a perfect form, and practice makes perfect. As far as like, you can't be learning the wrong thing every day and then say because I practiced it, it's good. So it's like you got to learn the correct techniques and do that. And things that help are word generators, punchline setups, you know, just forcing yourself to look around and talk about what you see, putting yourself out, you know, in person around people that make you feel embarrassed and, you know, looking people in the eyes. Like there's times where I don't look at the crowd and I feel like, damn it, like I need to control that more. And it's just a natural embarrassment you'll always feel, but that's the only time it happens.
So it's like, for me, it's like, it's weird though, because I did the whole song thing until like 2020, and I was at like a cipher, and I'm like, oh fuck, I think I have to start freestyling because of the practical side of rapping. And every show rappers be freestyling, and you don't want to be like on the side watching, you know. And so I started practicing, but it's mad different than songs. It's like the band thing you were describing, that shit's easy for me. I know how to come in with the meticulous precision, do my track, understand it like that. But the freestyles, like I was always good between tracks, like hyping up crowds and shit, but like to actually just freestyle and do that whole side of it, yo, that took a long, it was a good couple of years to get comfy with it.
Yeah. And that's what it takes, bro. And it's like, like I said, when I first started, you know, Insomniac Rap?
Maybe.
On Twitch.
I don't.
So he's been doing it he just celebrated 1,000 days in a row of streaming, sometimes twice. And yesterday was 1,000 days in a row. And so he's been doing it for a minute. When I first got on here, he was one of the first ones I seen. So I've been watching him for a minute. And during my world record thing, he donated $100 and shit. And just, I feel like I gained his respect on a different level after that 44-hour thing, because he sort of knew I was good, but he probably got like, from the beginning as to up to right now, a lot of the beginning shit was so whack that he probably didn't like pay attention too much. But I feel like everybody in general looks at me in a different light after that, 44-hour freestyle thing. So
that's wild. I mean, I know it's cool, and I know I'm supposed to be more excited about that than other things, but for real, bro, I saw you was pushing VR forward, and I'm like, legend.
Yeah, man, appreciate you. That's it. Don't matter what it relates to be, as far as it's just, I'm glad that you're just as excited about it, and it's definitely cool to have done this interview with you and shit, man. And for anybody who wants to check that out, that's the 44-hour, the end of it.
You gotta put that in my chat because it blocks yours.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. Just cause.
Oh, so that's what happens. It doesn't show that it's blocked. That's
why. Because you don't see that part, and I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I've been copying all the links you put right after. It feels.
Oh, okay. Where? So yeah, I'll start sending them to you. But that's the last one. And at the end of that video, if you put it, I'm thinking of making a picture called the 44th hour and making that into an NFT, because I'm just like this, like so tired. I'm just like, and my throat is all sore and my tongue has a canker sore from drinking too much caffeine and biting it. And just like, I went through a lot of turmoil during that time. And like, I was thinking of taking a picture of the resting moment after the 44th hour.
And how long, what was your final time?
I mean, I probably went like 6 minutes or something like that. But it was 44 hours, 44 minutes, and 44 seconds was the goal.
That's dope. So So at some point soon, all the tabloid people will be writing about you breaking Watsky's records, and at some point that'll get officialized, and we'll hear people making some chatter about that.
And the one thing though is Watsky did 33 hours, 33 seconds, and like 33 minutes, 16 seconds. And somebody in Ireland beat him, and they did 36, 36, 36. So I beat both of them by 44, like pretty much almost.
So you wanted to make sure people were not coming for your record so easily.
Yeah.
Like you're like, what's the physical limit of what a human can practically do before
I probably could have went like, I wanted to do 48 hours to be honest, but they didn't want to keep going. So
You mean your support team was all like, nah, baby.
Yeah. I was like, yo, when I was rapping, I was like, y'all want to go to 48? Because I'm feeling great, you know, or whatever. And they're like,
okay, okay, I knew a 48 came from something. I'm like, I don't know why I know about this 48 number. But, so I thought it was 48 hours y'all had gone. But still, 44 and changes, or 45 even. Yeah. That's like a wild, I don't think a lot of people do it. I was like.
And I mean, hopefully nobody goes after the record, and I don't think they will anytime soon. But it's like, you know, it's definitely one of those things that most people haven't even stayed up that long, you know, let alone do something during that time nonstop. And so even for me, I was honestly surprised at my performance and my results of how much I was thinking, because I think it was the adrenaline of knowing people were watching me, and this was a special event type of thing that gave me more oomph to want to kill it more. And looking at some of the footage, like I was saying some pretty decent shit, and you know, I'm not even the type to boast, but it was like, damn, that was a pretty dope line. Or, you know, just because I had the word generator going the whole time, so my mind was like constantly thinking. And especially when you know how you warm up after 30 minutes of freestyling and you finally start getting into the groove, it's like that was like hours of being in a groove at certain points, you know.
Did you find like at some point like it was like I looked at it and I'm like, how the fuck do you sit in a chair and just like not move for 2 days? Like that's the part that looks like awful. It's not so much the rapping I felt was awful. It was, or like, you know, just needing to use the washroom and shit. Like did that affect shit? Like, was it hard?
It wasn't hard during the moment, but I think it messed up my sleep schedule. And like you could see, like I got more of a puffiness because my schedule I always stay up and shit. And it's like, that's from the metaverse thing of always creating and working. But yeah, I mean, it's probably just messed up my sleep schedule, but I'm better now, you know, compared. I slept 20 hours after the event, and then I tried to go back and do something later on that day, and I had to go back because I was getting woozy from just being, you know, too fucked up, sleep deprived.
Nah, I feel that, man. So I appreciate you a lot. I'm not really sure what do you have coming next? Like, are you planning on doing like albums or anything in that vein, or is it going to be more focusing on like the ecosystem and pushing the brand like that side?
I honestly want to come out with an album or at least a single or something because of that performance, and maybe I'll come up with something based around experiences of, you know, pushing past and, you know, the 44-hour thing as an album to commemorate it. But for now, it is building the ecosystem and pushing the VR thing on Twitter, doing consultations, and then trying to, you know, establish my brand and business. But yeah, I definitely want to work on an album soon of some kind.
That's dope, man. I mean, I find you pretty great with it. I look forward to building with you more and seeing what comes next. I don't know if anyone has any questions from who's here with it, but yeah, I appreciate you a lot. And I don't know, man. For me, like, just I know how hard it is to play in the unknowns and try to figure shit out, and how much work it really goes into doing some of what you're doing. And it just makes me respect you a lot more with it, because you also have a kid. Like, you also have family obligations.
Yeah, 2 daughters and a son.
Woof. Like, that's amazing, man. Like, you know how people be wildly acting like, yo, I'm a parent, I ain't got time for shit. And then you're here busy inventing the fucking future with a family. That's fucking incredible.
Appreciate it, man. I was going to say on to go out with a banger, you mind if I do a song?
Yeah, absolutely. Do it.
All right, bet. This is me and Optic Sound. We're actually
coming out with an album. It's like an EP.
We're going to be doing 3-4 songs, and this is the first one we collabed on. Tell me how it sounds to the beat, to the volume.
It's wildly changing.
Shit. Yeah, just turn it up a little bit. Is that too loud?
No, I think that's
until
okay.
The beat drops, you never know.
Yeah, you gotta descend deeper sometimes. Go down to the depths of your own mind. Nobody's gonna take you there but yourself. Yeah. Hey, Cess.
Why should I go through the game? How can I hold in the pain? How are you cold and refrain from dealing to cope with the brain? Taking them both in the same, just let it just go through your veins. Get yourself out of the frame of the mind that'll tell you often insane. Go off and abusing these bottles as casket, tipping the debt till I'm blasted. Mind a multitude of passes, ration the last of my asses. Smoke to the beat and I cash it, making this music in classic. Go to the beat and I blast, fasten your seatbelt as fast. Taking the dab and I pass it, passing the week in the past shit. Passionate speech with the glass, trash in the streets and I smash it. Pushing my feet on the gas, antennas to seek all the cash. Stinging and filling their head like a killer bee. Killing with the rusty guillotine, and inhaling the dust but I spit it clean. It's explosive and rust like it's ethylene. Dissolution of self like it's masculine. Hey, instead of bitching, I take me a hit and get rid of the bit of me. I just smoke me a little weed. It's the only reason that I literally feel to be right and I'm feeling free. When I jump on the ceiling beam, start to slide and spin like a Phillips on killer beats. Don't become too repetitive. Just go open your head a bit, flow through impediments. Keep on going irrelevance. All you gotta do is really just stay ahead of it. Enigmatic, but I'm systematic with the rhythm pattern. I'm a lyric addict, straight gorilla with it. But there's no more planners, no more filament, a menace, no more manners. No more mannerisms, feeling neurotic with aneurysm, so I go bananas, then I'm showing my nuts, snapping and showing them up, cause I don't be giving a fuck. Are you trying to defeat that? Well, a person who be living is a human that'll heed that. Now I'm living up a redax. What you wanted isn't really why I do it, I just need stats. Where the money for the weed at? If you flaunt it, then you really trying to stunt to feed that. Thought you wanted it to feedback. Not a fame is the reason I need my receipt back.
That's fun. That's a good vibe.
I appreciate you, man.
Nah, I appreciate that
So-
stills. Yeah, no.
Yeah, bro. So
Nah, dude, I appreciate this whole conversation. I made a little command with all your links in it, and then all the shit's going to be in the description of the videos below so people can come through and follow you and all that. I mean, it's just sessions on Instagram, too.
Yeah.
He's got a link tree there. And for those, because I remember sometimes there's the Spotify where it's not as easy for the old link in description. Fine. So sessions on Instagram. And I just appreciate like you coming through and sharing that knowledge, man. For anybody that ever catches this, yo, you really just saved a lot of people a lot of time and effort, which really just means you saved a lot of people a lot of money. And for that, that's truly dope, dude. Like that's
all it is for me, bro, is really trying to genuinely have the intention of helping people. And that's how I want to be reciprocated, not on an expectation aspect, but just helping. And then if it works out, you know, hopefully they'll return the favor, you know?
And I love that. That's an amazing way to be. And I really appreciate it because for real, we be really trying to figure out some of this stuff. And you really helped in that sense because Chris, you just saved him a lot of Googling for real.
Yeah. And get with me, dog. Like, let's sit on, a business meeting of some kind, get to know each other, and then just see what ideas we got and lay out something to maybe focus on. Or I could just help you guys get started, and then, you know, when you guys do build up, hit me back. And
we'll figure stuff out. I'm more on the top level production of shows and that side.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Chris is on this more technical because, frankly, I can't go seduce talent while, you know, like we got to play different roles to pull it out. But the goal is to create a bigger ecosystem. Well, I mean, my primary mission is for Montreal, but it should just be everything, right? Because Montreal's got a shit ton of artists. And I'm like, why are we not all in VR and shit? You know, like, why are we not
Well,
there?
that's another thing. Like, once you get into VR, it's no longer just localized. You know what I mean? You're actually worldwide.
Yeah, but we can come through rocking, like, fucking team branding and look fly.
Yeah.
And be like, y'all ain't Montreal. And it makes it more fun.
And you could also start doing things in the basement where people can click the link and access it through a web browser, and you guys do a show with your phone streaming it, and people can watch through there. Well, I mean, obviously you could just be on Twitch watching it, but still, like just to give people an introduction to the VR type thing.
But that's the bigger goal, is to get people into these more private. Because what happens when Amazon shuts down copyright? What happens when? Because people act like it's all good, like, but the way people be wildly making these reaction videos, writing's on the wall. It's got like a year max before you're gonna have to be in a private space to have anything fire anymore. So it's just.
And that's why people are buying land. You know what I mean? So they can actually have a headquarters to go to. It's like people wonder why they're being purchased. It's because when you get into VR and stuff, if you don't have somewhere to go, you're a customer.
Ooh,
you know?
That's a fire and interesting way to put it.
Yep. That's why I'm glad I got the basement, and this is hopefully going to give my brand and business the chance to come up and buy my own So I know I'm going to have a land, and I'll probably pick Somnium and then maybe have others if I start duplicating and investing and whatnot.
That's fire stills. I mean, we'll definitely talk more in the future. I'm really excited by this. And for all you watching this, thank you for coming through. For those that stuck through with the live, appreciate all of you. For those of you that watch it in the future, y'all are a wonderful tool. But make sure to hit up twitch.tv/behind-that-suit. It is what it is. The live is more fun.
And remember, the homie behind that suit's the one that hold it down since 2020. What? 2020? Is that when you started this show?
Shit. This show, I guess, was technically 2019, but it was fragmented and not on Twitch. It moved to Twitch in 2020, but it started on YouTube.
So remember that for y'all in the future, that this is where it's at, bro.
Yeah, man.
Behind that suit started it. This is where we connected to what we built in the future, to where you guys are sitting there watching us right now in that future world.
Going on that documentary based off all that footage you captured earlier.
Right?
Yo, man. That's fucking cool stuff.
Hey, much obliged.
But all of the links in description and stuff. Appreciate everyone coming through. Ismail did discover me in 2017, but it was more album reviews then. But yo, for real, keep in touch, world, and like live long and prosper, everybody.
That's right. Be better than you were yesterday.
Thank you.